You know, population isn't just a number on a page. It's the one thing that gives scale to everything else, from resources to economies. And today, we're diving into one of the most incredible demographic stories on the planet, India's massive and really complex population.
To really get a handle on India's story, you first have to appreciate the sheer scale of it all. The numbers are so big they can almost feel unreal. So let's try to put them in perspective.
Okay, take a look at this. That one slice, that's India's share of every single person on Earth. It means that more than 17 out of every 100 people alive today live in India. That's a staggering figure, and it really sets the stage for everything else we're going to talk about.
So what does that look like in actual numbers? Well, based on the 2011 census, we're talking 1.21 times billion people. It's a number that's so huge, it's honestly kind of hard to wrap your head around.
Now here's where it gets really mind-bending. India is home to 17.5% of the world's population, right? But all those people live on just 2.4% of the world's land. That contrast, that tells you right away that the population density we're dealing with here is absolutely immense.
So with that many people packed onto a relatively small piece of land, you gotta wonder, where does everybody live? Well, as it turns out, the way people are spread out is anything but even.
And the contrasts inside the country are just as wild. I mean, on one hand, you've got a single state, Uttar Pradesh, with 199 million people. That's bigger than most countries. But then, on the other hand, you have the state of Sikkim with just over 500,000 residents. It's a country of incredible extremes.
This map from the 2011 census just brings that whole idea to life. Look at those deep red and orange areas, especially in the northern plains. That's where you have over 1,000 people packed into every square kilometer. Now compare that to the huge patches of green and yellow. So what causes a pattern this dramatic?
Well, it pretty much all boils down to geography. Those northern plains are flat. They have incredibly fertile soil and they get plenty of rain. That makes them perfect for farming, which can support huge populations. But in contrast, you have areas with rugged mountains and really harsh climates, and, well, not many people live there. And then you've got these in-between zones with rocky terrain and less rain that support more moderate numbers.
Okay, so we've seen the scale and we've seen where people are living. But what's actually driving all of this? What are the mechanics, the engine that made India's population so huge to begin with?
Any population change, anywhere in the world, really comes down to three things. The birth rate, which is how many people are being born, the death rate, how many are dying, and migration, which is just the movement of people. The way these three things interact tells the whole story.
But here's a twist you might not see coming. The rate at which the population is growing has actually been slowing down for a while. You can see here that between 1981 and 2011, the annual growth rate dropped quite a bit. This is actually a really important trend, something economists call the start of a potential demographic dividend, basically a sweet spot where you have a huge working-age population.
And that brings us to this really fascinating puzzle. If the rate of growth is going down, why does the total number of people still go up by so much every single decade?
And here's the key. It's all about the starting number. When you apply even a small growth rate to a massive base of over 1 billion people, you still get a gigantic increase in the actual number of people. Just to give you an idea, even though the growth rate was falling in the 1990s, India still added 182 million people.
And that third driver, migration, doesn't change the total number of people in the country, but it dramatically shuffles them around. A huge trend in India is people moving from rural areas to cities. This is driven by what we call push factors, like poverty and a lack of jobs in the countryside, and pull factors, like the hope of finding better work and a better life in a city.
So, we've covered the big numbers, but now let's zoom in on the people themselves. Because the single most important feature of India's population today is just how incredibly young it is. Get this, a full 1/5 of India's entire population is made up of adolescents, kids between 10 and 19 years old. They are, without a doubt, the country's most important resource for the future. But having this huge, young population also comes with some major challenges. For one, their nutritional needs are actually higher than those of younger kids or even adults. But in India, the diet that's available to many just isn't good enough. This leads to serious nutrient deficiencies, and you see a huge number of adolescent girls, in particular, suffering from conditions like anemia.
So when you look at all these complex pieces, the mind-boggling scale, the growth, the challenges for the youth, you have to ask, what's being done about it? And that brings us to the role of national policy in trying to shape India's future.
India has actually been thinking about its population for a very long time. As far back as 1952, the government kicked off a big family planning program. And all of those efforts eventually led to the year 2000 and the introduction of the National Population Policy, or NPP.
And this new policy in 2000 took a much, much broader view of things. Its goals weren't just about controlling numbers, they were about improving people's lives. This included things like free education for kids up to 14, lowering infant mortality, making sure every child gets immunized, and encouraging girls to marry later, which has a huge impact on health and birth rates.
This phrase right here, this captures the whole idea. The goal was to move away from just setting targets from the top down and to really make family welfare a people-centered program that focuses on individual health and well-being.
So after looking at the sheer scale, the way people are spread out, and the policies trying to shape the future, we're left with this one fundamental question. Is India's incredible, massive population its greatest strength or its biggest challenge?